Welcome to Fantasy Tomorrow. My name is Caleb, and today we're talking a little bit about the NFL draft and some of the rookies that were selected in that draft and the value that they could have for your fantasy team in 2021. And we're going to be talking about the rookie wide receivers who were selected in this year's draft, or at least the fantasy relevant ones. So to start off, let's talk about Jamar Chase, who was the first wide receiver that was selected, and he was selected by the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, he finds himself in a bit of a competition for targets since T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are already established in that offense, but he should find himself a pretty good target share just because Joe Burrow is a really good quarterback, and I think he's going to be able to spread out the ball pretty well in that offense. Now, Jaylen Waddle was the second receiver that was taken in the draft. He was selected by the Miami Dolphins, but he's going to have to battle with Will Fuller and Devontae Parker for targets. And I think he'll have a productive role as a kind of a speed guy and as a slot receiver in that offense. And he's definitely going to hit some home runs in this upcoming season. But don't expect too much because I just don't know how Tua is going to develop in that offense and whether he will be able to be a good enough passer to support all of those wide receivers. So definitely be cautious with Waddle, but he's got a ton of talent. Then there's Devonta Smith, who's going to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I really like Smith a lot in this situation because there's just no depth in Philadelphia at the wide receiver position. And I think that Smith could really break out and just be the star pass catcher for the Eagles and be a star pass catcher for your fantasy team. Then there's Kadarius Toney, who's in an opposite situation. He was drafted by the New York Giants, and he's just in a super crowded situation. And while he does kind of have that speed and explosiveness that can make him really exciting, he's going to have to battle with Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, and Darius Slayton for playing time. Not to mention Saquon Barkley's going to get his, Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph are going to get theirs. There's just a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, and that limits Tony's upside. Then there's Rashod Bateman, who went to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Bateman could end up as the top wide receiver in Baltimore, but there's quite a few mouths to feed in that offense as well. Not to mention, that's a primarily run-first offense, and Lamar Jackson just isn't that proven as a reliable passer, so I don't think that Bateman's upside is very high either, and it's kind of just limited just by what that offense is right now. Then there's Elijah Moore, who went to the New York Jets, but he could kind of end up as that top pass-catching option for Zach Wilson in the Jets, and that could really mean that he becomes an explosive piece of that new offense. Then there's Terence Marshall Jr., who was picked by the Carolina Panthers, and he should really be a great wide receiver 3 for the Panthers, kind of maybe filling that role that Curtis Samuel left behind. I know he's a bit of a different receiver, but if Sam Darnold can really kind of turn his career around in Carolina, I think Terence Marshall could be a really good fantasy asset. Then there's Amari Rodgers for the Green Bay Packers, and this is an interesting situation. The Packers finally drafted a wide receiver that might calm things down right now with Aaron Rodgers, who's kind of mad at the team for how they've supported him in the past. And he could actually find himself on his way out in Green Bay. But if Aaron Rodgers stays, I think Amari Rodgers will have a productive role in this offense as a good route runner besides Davante Adams. So definitely keep your eye on Amari Rodgers. And then finally, there's Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was picked up by the Detroit Lions. And I like him, again, mostly because of the situation that he finds himself in. There's not a whole lot of wide receiver depth in Detroit right now, so he has a chance to really step in and be that number one wide receiver for the Lions, and that could lead to significant playing time and significant targets. This team will probably be trailing a lot, which means they'll be throwing the ball a lot, but hard to put too much stock in it too, because this projects to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Now, you can take a look at my early rankings of these rookie wide receivers. There's certainly going to be a couple of these guys who break out, but it may kind of take some time for that to kind of all figure itself out and figure out which one is going to be a breakout player. But keep an eye on news during training camp and the preseason to see how things will fall, but be careful not to overdraft one of these guys just based on hype in your league. Rookie wide receivers can be really hard to predict, as it sometimes takes time for them to adjust to the NFL, not to mention their production will rely heavily on their quarterback play and on the offense's scheme and on the receivers around them. But I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them broke out and ended up as top 20 wide receivers at the end of the year. But guys, please subscribe for more league-winning fantasy advice. Of course, also like and comment, stay engaged with what we're doing here. Go check out all of our social medias. But thank you so much for watching. This has been Fantasy Tomorrow, where you can learn today and win tomorrow. We'll see you next time.